Welcome to Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. I'm doing another vlog. Hadn't anticipated that. It dawned on me as I was filming the weekly wrap-up video this morning that I could use the summer reading challenge for the library as a vlog. So it's going to be on the longer side, but I'm going to use the board the library has. The picture's right here. And I will read you the individual squares so you're not trying to squint at your phone and read them. The start point is visit a local park or museum, and then read for an hour. Follow the library on social media. Read an action, adventure, and/or adventure book. The summer reading challenge is called Adventure Begins at Your Library. The next spot on the board is recommend a book for an adventure book list. Attend a library event. Submit a paranormal short story or poem set here in town. Try reading a new genre. Complete this insert town name squirrel trail, and they've left a QR code for that. Read for an hour. Try learning a new language, and our library has an electronic app for that. It's called Mango. Submit a book review in the library catalog. Attend a library event. Read a travel article on Libby or Newsbank. Go on a hike. Read for an hour. Make a food item from another country. Submit a song from the library for the library's international music playlist. Create a piece of art inspired by adventure. Attend a library event. Read a book recommended by a friend. Perform a random act of kindness. Watch a foreign film on Canopy or Biblio Plus. Read for an hour. And the final space on the board is take a virtual tour of a place you would like to visit. I think it sounds charming. It goes through the 8th of August. I am hoping to fill the board well before that. We shall see. And I'm not ending this vlog until the board is filled. And I'm going to set myself the challenge to read books from the library for the list. So that should be an interesting challenge. So, reading for an hour, those squares are easy to fill. I'm not worried about that. I already follow the library on social media, so that one's done. So, I need to think of books that fit challenges, and I will take you on that adventure together. I'm trying to think of anything that's currently here that fits. And I didn't pick a lot of adventure books out. So, we shall see. Stay tuned for the next installment on this crazy summer reading challenge vlog. Okay, so for the library book challenge, which is adventure themed this year, I am going to start my first pass of the board with library books set in the United States. I've read a lot of European-focused books of late, so it'll be good to, start summer or continue summer in... Hang on. Wow, there's a blue jay on my neighbor's tree. Why can't he ever come see me? They're very rare in our neighborhood. We get lots of cardinals, but blue jays, not so much. So, I'm going to start the summer reading challenge in America. If I get through all 25 spaces on the board, I will pick up another sheet and do an international version around the 25 spaces. So we will see how long this goes. So first up, we're going to try Evie Drake Starts Over by Linda Holmes. And this is her debut novel. This is the one I'm somewhat concerned about because it is written by a staff member at NPR. However, it is an quote-unquote mature romance, and the male protagonist is a baseball player. We all know I love baseball. So, I thought I would give it a try. It is less than 300 pages. So, I will, institute my 50-page rule, and we shall see. And that would be 7 chapters of this book. So, that is a good start. So, let's see if I like this one. Okay, that was a weird opening. It was just weird. Our main character, Evie, is deciding to leave her husband, and as she's getting in the car to drive away from their marital residence, she gets a phone call telling her that her husband has been in a very bad accident and she should come right away. And then he dies while she's on her way to the hospital. That is wickedly coincidental. Like, it beggars belief. Okay, so chapter 1 takes place a year after her husband dies. And as I'm reading it, my neighbor across the street, who her husband passed away less than 2 months ago, so she's very recently widowed. She's very sweet. And I see her all the time, and I say hello whenever we're outside at the same time. She has remained very active. She's puttering in her garden. She's off doing stuff with her growing son. She has girlfriends come over all the time. She's walking her dogs. I see her all the time. She's an active member of our community. In contrast to our protagonist, Evie here, who 1 year after her husband's death, is wallowing in her own mire of guilt, and it's not even sorrow, it's self-pity, I think. And she apparently rarely leaves the house, and she's seeing her husband's ghost everywhere, and so I'm reading this, and out of the corner of my eye, I see my lovely neighbor across the way out watering her garden. And I've seen her more. This isn't a reflection on her, by the way. I've seen her more since her husband passed away than I did in the previous 2.5 years. So it's a contrast of 2 widows, one fictional, one real. But that's a very stark contrast. I'm sorry, but that is just a very stark contrast. Now, admittedly, our fictional heroine, her husband was, killed in a car crash. My real life neighbor, her husband had been seriously ill for a very long time. So he was on dialysis a couple times a week. So, it wasn't a surprise. it was still unfortunate and very sad, but it wasn't a surprise. So there is that difference. But I'm paralyzed by grief for the sake of a story arc versus real life playing out in my neighborhood every day. It's a very sharp contrast. It's kind of jarring, actually. I'll keep reading. Well, I was going to do this outside, so we will see how the footage is. And I may end up reshooting it indoors, and you will never know. I didn't turn on the ring light because, well, I'm outside, and sure, I could plug an extension cord in, but the chances of Kahlua tripping over it and sending everything scattering is higher than not. So I did not do that. I know my husband has multiple ones out here, though, so maybe I'll have him put one up. So, okay, what are we doing? I already talked about this one on my weekly wrap-up. I don't need to talk about it again. So, this is for the Library Summer 2024 Reading Challenge. And as you know, the theme is adventure. And I'm trying to fulfill the board reading books only from the library versus books on my shelf. And the first prompt is visit a museum or a park. I have a museum book in there, but I'm not going to talk about that one right now. So I'm going to talk about what I think is up next for that reading challenge. And that is going to be the Summer Book Club by Susan Mallory. And this is a new book from library. I believe it's a 24 publication. As I flip right past the page. It is. So this is a brand new release. It is her summer 2024 novel. And A, I love the cover. B, I really like the idea of a summer book club. So I will read you a little bit of the front flap. Besties Laurel and Paris are excited to welcome Cassie to the group. This year, the book club is all about Fill Your Heart Reads, an escape from the chaos of everyday running a business, raising a family, juggling 100 to-dos. Even the dog is demanding, but the bestest boy. Since Laurel's divorce, she feels like the worst mom ever. Her skepticism of men may have scared her vulnerable daughters. Cassie has an unfortunate habit of falling for the ridiculous man boys who dump her once she fixes them. Paris knows good men exist. She's still reeling after chasing off the only one brave enough and foolish enough to marry her. Inspired by the heroines who risk everything for fulfillment, Laurel, Paris, and Cassie begin to take chances. Big chances. In life, in love. Facing an unwritten chapter, it can be terrifying. But it can be exhilarating too, if they only can find the courage to change. I think this sounds fabulous. I know I'm going to the library later this week. I know it's a brand new book. I want to get it read so I can get it returned. It's exactly 400 pages. And there is a recipe in the back for avocado orange salad. Orange avocado salad, I'm sorry. Which is really just a salad with oranges and avocados in it, so, you know. But I think this sounds great. It's up my alley, so I'm definitely reading this. And I am very, very much in the mood for a mystery. And I have two, well, I have more than two, but I have two higher up on the list than others. And the first one of those is How to Solve Your Own Murder by Christian Perrin. This too is a new book. And again, I would like to get this one finished this week so I can get it returned so the next person in line can read it. And it is 355 pages, 354 pages, 354. So again, it's well within my ability to read and get returned by Friday of this week. So this one found fascinating. It's dual timeline. It is 1965 and present day. It sounds like a lot of fun. It's set in England. It sounds like a great adventure. And yeah, I'm definitely here for that one. I don't want to read you too much of the inside because it will spoil things. I do have a couple of not concerned, but cautions going in. It is blurbed by a couple of authors whose work I have not enjoyed. One of whom is L.A. Casamano, who writes the Finlay Donovan series. The other one is Karma Brown, who, wow, I just spilled all over myself. Congratulations. Tammy cannot drink. Apparently I got more on myself than I drunk. Need to check my lid. The other one is Karma Brown, who I tried to read one of her books last year, and it was horrible. I couldn't get more than 10 pages in. So that has me concerned, but I will give it a shot, and I will let you know. So the other mystery I want to read is the third. In the Electra McDonald series, that is Playing It Safe by Ashley Weaver. This is set in World War II London during the Blitz, and they are just a good time read. I have enjoyed every single one of these immensely, and this will be a very fast read. It's not new, so there's no pressure to read it this week. I will be able to renew this, no problem. But it is only 262 pages, so again, I need to read this. So that's what's up next for the summer reading challenge for my library. Okay, so this is a voiceover for this video. I forgot to talk. So remember that beautiful fig tree I had in my very first vlog? This is the same fig tree, a week and a half, 2 weeks later, after it got over-fertilized with some unused chicken feed that Dave unwisely poured on top of said fig, and then it got extensively watered and it died. There's Happy Fireball. This is my very happy tomato garden. As you can see, tomatoes and my flamingo and all of my beautiful tomatillos. And that would be Sweetie. She is our problem chicken. And there's Kahlua, who loves to be in every video she can get herself into. She's a very happy dog, in case you can't tell. As you can tell, I was recording outside for this one. Yeah, so there's a couple of the other chickens. Pickles is in his cage this day. And the deck is a mess because, chickens will run around. As you can see, the chickens love to hang out under Pickles' cage because he feeds them on a regular basis, and they know this. So they get fed from the parrot, and the parrot takes great So it's the 4th of July, and I've been meaning to do an update for a couple days here, and I just haven't had a chance. So I thought I would do one this morning. Summer reading has been a little hit or miss in the last couple days. That's okay. It happens to all of us. So I'm going to talk about a couple of misses first. And first up would be The Library of Broken Borrowed Hearts by Lucy Gilmore. I love the cover. I love the title. And by page 3, I DNF'd this book. By page 2, the protagonist was already very immature and irritating and just not the kind of protagonist I enjoy reading. So I was already struggling. And then I got to the first full paragraph of the 3rd page, and I just had enough. So this book is centered around our protagonist finding a battered copy of a book published in 1934 in France, and it's discarded in the basement of the library where she works as a Jill of all trades, and it turns out to be The Tropic of Cancer. So The Tropic of Cancer was originally published in France in 1934. It is a highly salacious book at the time. It's banned in America. It's banned all over. It's banned in Europe in 34. So this book had controversy from the get-go, and it is a highly sexualized accounting of one man's life. And the language in the first full paragraph of this book is, while it may or may not be representative of the Tropic of Cancer, which I admit I haven't read, and that's fine. I don't need to read. The protagonist is making a point of counting the number of times just flipping through the book. She can count the words prick or rosebush. And then she goes on to use the C word. And at that point, I was just done. She was just a unlikable character from the get-go. I didn't want to read about, her adventures with the Tropic of Cancer, and just, it was distasteful. It was not for me. So that one is being returned. Next up is the one I thought I would enjoy, How to Solve Your Own Murder by Christian Perrin. This was a new book in the library. I picked it up on impulse. It was published this year. It is a dual timeline murder mystery set in present day in 1965. There was nothing wrong with this book. I probably read 35, 40 pages. I just didn't connect with the writing style. I didn't connect with the characters. The language choices were odd. So I have plenty to read. I don't need to force myself to read a book that isn't catching my attention and keeping it. So this one's going back. And the last one was a true disappointment. That is The Summer Book Club by Susan Mallory. Yeah, I read 70 pages in this, and this should have been up my alley. It's about books. Our protagonists are in their late 30s. And those first 70 pages were, while the writing style was fine and the conversation and dialogue between characters flowed well, the context of those stories they were telling each other and their lives was buying into the whole nonsense of toxic masculinity and women can do no wrong and the world would be better off if men were entirely separated from women. And I'm sorry, no, that's just nonsense, and I don't need to read nonsense. So that one is going back as well. So those were all the misses for my summer reading this week. And those were all misses by Wednesday morning, unfortunately. So yesterday I did pick up and I'm currently reading Here Today, Gone Tamale by Rebecca Adler. This is the first book in the Taste of Texas trilogy. It is a cozy mystery. I am halfway through, and I am loving this. First of all, I can't pick up this book and not get hungry. Talks about food a lot. Specifically, it talks about Mexican food a lot. Obviously, tamales is in the title. I love Mexican food. It is my favorite cuisine. Every time I pick up this book, I am hungry. Didn't have to be hungry before I picked it up, and a couple pages in, they're talking about food, and I'm hungry again. So, always a good start. There are some recipes in the back. It's a good cozy mystery. It is set in a small town in Texas. If you know where Big Bend National Park, is it a national park? Big Bend is either a national park or it's a Texas state park. It's in that portion of Texas in the Chihuahua Desert. It's right across the border from Mexico in this fictional town called Broken Boot. And I'm absolutely 100% enjoying it. Unfortunately, my library only has the first book in the trilogy, and I'm going to have to pick up the other two because I am thoroughly enjoying this. And I will undoubtedly finish this today. I did briefly this morning start the next book for this vlog, and I'm going to like this one, I believe. I'm hoping, anyway. That is The Museum of Ordinary People by Mike Gale. And this is labeled as contemporary fiction, so I'm hopeful. The prologue opens well. It's engaging. And I'll read you the back. Still reeling from the sudden death of her mother, Jess is about to do the hardest thing she's ever done, empty her childhood home so that it can be sold. As she sorts through a lifetime of memories, everything comes to a halt when she comes across something she just can't part with. An old set of encyclopedias. To the rest of the world, the books are outdated and ready to be recycled. To Jess, they represent the future that her mother always wanted her to have, and they're the last connection she has with her mother. In the process of finding the encyclopedias a safe home, Jess discovers an unusual archive of letters, photographs, and curios housed in a nondescript warehouse and known as the Museum of Ordinary People. Irresistibly drawn to the collection, Jess soon finds herself its unofficial custodian, along with the warehouse's mysterious owner, Alex. As they delve into the history of the objects now in their care, they not only unravel heart-stirring stories that span generation and continent, but also unearth long-buried secrets that lie closer to home. Inspired by a box of mementos found abandoned near a dumpster, the Museum of Ordinary People is a thought-provoking story of memory and loss, of the things we leave behind and the future we create for ourselves. I've read, I don't know, 5, 10 pages in this so far. I'm invested. So unless something takes a radical turn, this will definitely be read for the summer reading book challenge for the library. And while I don't think I will get it done today, I'm going to the library tomorrow. I'm trying to return as many books as I can. It isn't that long. It's just over 300 pages. So, it is possible, since I don't think we're really doing anything today. But you never know. So that is this vlog update. I need to go make some potato salad, and we're having burgers and potato salad today. Maybe I can get Dave to grill burgers, but maybe not, since it's well over 100, and with the heat index it's well over 110. So most likely not. They're probably going in the air fryer, and that's fine. Burgers in the air fryer, if you've never had them that way, are delicious. And I will check in when I finish here today, gone tamale. Okay, it's vlog update time. So I picked up books last week. And one of the ones I picked up was Summer's End, Sisters of Summer's End by Lori Foster. Turns out this is book 2 in the Cooper's Charm series. So I was in the library yesterday. I picked up the first book, which is Cooper's Charm. And if you know me, there's a cute dog on the cover. So of course, I'm interested. He's even on the back cover, and he's adorable. So I started Cooper's Charm this morning, and book opens up. It's pretty obvious from the beginning that our protagonist, Phoenix Rose, has suffered something traumatic in her recent past, and it made the news. And she's accepted this job at Cooper's Charm RV Park to be the groundskeeper. And Cooper is our male protagonist, and he knows this because he, did a background check on an employee. And yet, not even 30 pages into the book, he is physically and sexually attracted to her, and he is describing her body parts. And since the death of his wife 6 years ago, he doesn't have a non-sexual relationship with women. And so I flipped through the book, and sure enough, halfway through, she's unbuttoning her pants for him, and yeah, I'm just not in the mood for that. I'm really, really not. So those two books are going back to the library, and we're just going to cross Lori Foster off as a potential author, and I am okay with that. So next up for the summer reading challenge, I am going to pick up Summer by the Sea by Susan Wiggs. I like her as an author. She may not be new to me, but, she writes well. I've started the book. I'm invested. It's a good thing. So I'm going to sit out here until I am done sweating for the day. Won't be long. We're supposed to get rain this afternoon. Supposedly Beryl, the hurricane, is arriving Monday. Yesterday, which was Friday the 5th, we were getting a direct hit. It was going to be, 12 to 15 inches of rain. This morning, Saturday the 6th, Now we're getting a glancing blow, and at the rate it's going, we're not going to get anything at all. Give me an earthquake any day of the week. Comes, it goes, it happens, it's over with, you deal with the aftermath. All this hurricane buildup? No, thank you. Just no, thank you. Okay, that's it for me. I will give you an update. Well, I haven't updated the summer vlog in a couple of days. If you watch my weekly wrap ups, you know I went through a bad patch of DNFing multiple books and it kind of interfered. So I'm going to talk about two of those DNFs in a little more detail today. And I have reached 25 hours on the summer reading challenge for the library. So I'm going to wrap this blog up as of today. I have two vlogs going in my right now, and I'm confusing footage and losing footage. So I need to wrap one up and, move things along. So perfect time to do this. So let's talk about the last ones I've DNF'd for the library. I have DNF'd Summer by the Sea by Susan Wiggs. And there was nothing I was uncomfortable with in this book. I was probably 75, 100 pages in when I DNF'd it. And the big problem was I was bored. Like, bored. I really didn't care about the characters. I would have probably been much happier with the overall story had this not turned into a billionaire adjacent second chance romance. I don't know how rich the male protagonist actually is, but rich enough that his family owns multiple houses, one of which is in Newport, Rhode Island, which, if you know anything about houses there, none of them are inexpensive. And I'm not in the mood for one of those. That is never a type of story I enjoy in general. And so you add that with a storyline that isn't grabbing my attention from the get-go. And yeah, I had better things to read than that. And so, although I enjoy Susan Wiggs as an author, usually, this one didn't work for me. And it could have just been the mood I was in. It could have been the beginning of me DNFing stuff. But I was bored, and there's nothing I despise more in a good fiction read, especially one that's supposed to be a beach read, than to be bored. And yeah, so I was bored. And moving on. My last attempt at a Susan Mallory book for this vlog. I don't know that I'm going to pick up anything else by her in the future, to be honest. I know I have one of her books sitting on my shelves. Personally, it is like a middle book in a series. I don't know if I'm going to try the first book in the series or if I'm just going to unhaul the book I have. So the last book I DNF'd by her was The Summer of Sunshine and Margot. As you know, I loved the cover. I still love the cover. This was another case of I read 75, 50, 75, 100 pages, something like that, and I was bored. The one thing a summer beach read book should absolutely not do for me personally is bore me. And it certainly shouldn't bore me in the opening of the book. It should grab my attention. It should have interesting characters. It should have drama or romance or something. There should be some ability to grab my attention and keep it. And instead, what we get in this delightful cover is a very straight-laced, buttoned-up business woman who wears false glasses and looks one way for business, and she tells you in the book she looks completely different outside of her business attire and much, much younger. And her glasses are false so that people think she's more intelligent because she doesn't look intelligent without them. And I and then she has this very, stuffy, boring business meeting trying to set up the book. And, if I wanted to hear about business meetings, well, I've been in enough of them to know what they go like. I can ask my husband how his went that day, or one of my girlfriends. And no, thank you. I don't want to read about business meetings. I especially don't want to read about business meetings in a beach read book. Even if it's setting up the book. Just I was bored. So those were the last updates I owed for this vlog. I was going to read the Nancy Thayer for this vlog that is sitting downstairs waiting for me. I believe it's Heatwave. I may do that in another vlog later in the month, or pick it back up from library for August, but this is probably going to be, longer than it needs to be. I've had fun reading adventure books through the library. And another update. I've already returned the book, The Museum of Ordinary People by Mike Gale. I was going to use this book to fulfill a prompt on the board to visit a park or a library in town, or park or museum in town. And I had started the book. I've started the book for this vlog. I have DNF said book. What the back of the book says, she finds the encyclopedias as she's cleaning out her mother's house when her mom dies, and it sends her on this adventure, is not really what happens in the opening of the book. She opens the book. Yes, she finds the encyclopedias. She throws them in some disposable bags and carries them on home, where she immediately parks them for a year and never looks at them again. So they couldn't have meant that much to her. This was another 50 pages in. I was bored. I didn't like the characters. The book blurb didn't match the content of the book in the first 50 pages. And bored. I don't, need every page to be action-packed or have something dramatic happen or suspenseful. But at the same time, the blurb on your book should match the content the reader is first going to experience. And when it doesn't, I just find it irritating. And I would rather not be irritated while I read. And this was very much a case of Tammy is irritated and she is bored, and I didn't care. So, yeah, I have just talked myself into not concluding this vlog. I'm going to go read the Nancy Thayer book for this vlog and then end on that one, because I'm sure that's going to end on a good note, and I don't want to close off a vlog on a bad note. So, next book up is going to be Heat Wave by Nancy Thayer, and I'm looking forward to it. It has been sitting there beckoning to me for the last couple of days, so I'm going to go pick it up, and we'll end on that note. So, stay tuned for that update. Okay, so as promised, I have started Heat Wave by Nancy Thayer, and it has been what I needed today. I have a headache I cannot get rid of. I did not sleep well. I just needed a good comfort read, and this has been precisely what I needed. So I'm going to read you the inside flap. Excuse me. Making a startling discovery that her family finances are in dire straits is only the latest shock endured by Carly Winstead after her husband's sudden death from a heart attack. Resisting her in-laws' well-meaning overtures to take in Carly and her two daughters, the young widow instead devises a plan to keep her family in their beloved home, a grand historic house on the island of Nantucket. The solution is right at Carly's front door, transforming her expensive, expansive house into a bed and breakfast. Not everyone, however, thinks this plan prudent or quite respectable, especially not Carly's mother-in-law. Further complicating a myriad of challenges, a friend forces Carly to keep a secret that, if revealed, will undo families and friendships. With her late husband's former law partner keeps showing up at the most unexpected times, Carly must cope with an array of mixed feelings. And then, during a late summer heat wave, the lives of Carly, her friends, and family will be forever changed in an entirely unexpected way. I am about a third of the way through. I will undoubtedly finish this today. And let me just be upfront. Nancy Thayer is an absolute new favorite author of mine. This book is fantastic. I have loved every word written so far, and on the opening page of the novel itself, there is a poem by Edith H. West, who I've never heard of, but I love the poem, and I'm going to read it to you. The house is good, the beams are strong, the sun streams in the whole day long. 100 years or more it stood, swept by the sea winds, the house is good. I love that. I absolutely love that. It is evocative and descriptive of what a home on an island like Nantucket would be. And you instantly know that home is old and has seen things and been through things and has history. And I thought it was a beautiful way to introduce this story, in which the old house in which Carly and her children now live, it was the childhood home of her mother-in-law, who gave it to her son when he got married, and Carly obviously inherited it as his widow. And it's an historic mansion on Nantucket. And everything that goes with a historic mansion on Nantucket comes with it. You know, upkeep, leaks, old houses, you know, just all the things you don't think about unless you own one of those homes, or you've owned an older home. You know that as they age, they require love. And the older the house, the more expensive the love it sometimes requires. And thus opens our novel as Carly is coming to terms, with the unexpected death of her husband, who dies alone in his law office at night from a heart attack. And she's suddenly faced with going from a very contented housewife and mother to how do I keep food on my table for my kids and pay the bills, keep the lights on. Her in-laws offer to have her come live with them and they'll pay all the expenses. But she says, no, this is my child's home. We're staying here. I will fend for myself. And she's going through grief that's unimaginable. Or unfortunately, it's unimaginable, but not grief any of us want to experience ahead of our time. And she faces things head on. And about, 50 pages in, you love Carly, and her two best friends are Maud and Vanessa, and the three of them are strong female leads, and they have this bond of friendship that you just love. And then Carly finds out a secret about Maud, and Maud guilt trips her into keeping said secret. And I have just reached the point, so it's, a third of the way through the book, in which Vanessa finds out that what the secret was, and that, listen, more than a third of the way through, she is angry at Carly, and she has every right to be angry at Carly. There is no excuse. So it turns out, I don't want to give too much away, but I will tell you that this book takes a very definitive stand, and unless something changes in the next, 170 pages remaining, on the horrors of infidelity. So the book takes a very firm stand on infidelity, and we have repercussions and an honest dealing with the entire subject. And I just hit that point, and it is so incredibly refreshing. This entire book has just been incredibly refreshing. The conversations between Carly, Maud, and Vanessa sound like conversations you would have with your girlfriends. They're written that way. They read that way. Interactions with the kids they have is, spot on. This isn't just a, thrown together, I dreamed up in my head kind of portrayal of those things. This is emotional and honest and relatable and so, what's the word I'm looking for here? If you had been in that situation, you probably would react the same way that's going on in the book. And I am absolutely I cannot say enough good things right now about Nancy Thayer as an author. I need to read the rest of her. I need to I've been paying very careful attention after the missing swearing in a Mary Kay book. There's not been a single swear word in this book. And there are times in here so far I would have sworn. Like what's going on right now, before I stopped to film, I would be swearing. I would certainly be swearing at my best friend who kept a secret from me like this and didn't tell me. I would definitely be more than upset enough to swear. And there hasn't been a swear word yet. So Nancy Thayer is going to be one of those authors who I finish whatever is available at my library, and then what isn't available at my library, I will be either picking up on my own, getting an interpersonal library loan. You guys, you need to pick up Nancy Thayer. You need to pick up Nancy Thayer. I lied. There is a swear word. But given the conversation ensuing on the page, the swear word is completely appropriate. Completely and utterly appropriate. Well, I finished Heat Wave by Nancy Thayer last night. Last book for this vlog, which is already way too long. And as soon as I finished gushing about the content of the book took a change. Now, did that deter me from finishing the book? No, it did not. Do I think some of the content needed to be there for the story to exist? No. So, applying my rule in general, if I took away the content I didn't like, does the book stand up on its own? And the truth is, yes, it does. It stands up on its own, absolutely. So, it isn't a problem for me. I still very much enjoyed this story. This book was earlier in her career. This book is not reflective of the last book I just finished by her, which was The Summer of Us. And well, it's not that early in her career because there are a bunch of books before this one. So I don't know what to tell you about her content. I know I've read 2 books. I know she writes great Nantucket stories. This book versus the other book from her I talked about earlier in this vlog have very different tones and setup or content, and it is one of those calls in which I'm going to tell you may find content in this book objectionable. It wasn't enough for me to DNF the book, but I also, at the same time, absolutely believe that you could cut the content out and it wouldn't harm the book whatsoever. So the question becomes, am I going to read more of her backlist? And the answer is I am absolutely going to read more of her backlist. The first book I read from her, I absolutely loved. I loved the story in Heatwave. I loved the characters. I loved where it went with the story and the point of the story. I just didn't think some of the content needed to be there. And I think the content I didn't think needed to be there was probably there for marketing purposes and editorial purposes and trying to, drive book sales. This book was published in 2011. So, Kindle Unlimited wasn't a thing. Self-publishing was in its infancy. Goodreads wasn't even called Goodreads at the time, and it was a very different thing and had a very different vibe. So it was still the era of trying to get your books to sell. I personally am uncomfortable telling an author that the choices they had to make to pursue their career are objectionable to me as a reader, given that the book was, published almost 15 years ago, and the world was a very different place, even 15 years ago. So it's a judgment call. I've read 2 books by the same author in this vlog, and in both cases, I enjoyed the story, and content-wise, there was a difference. So, every reader's different. Every reader's going to make her or his own determination, and I will leave that up to you. I am not here to police anyone's reading or decide what is and is not worthy of your time. That is you as a reader. That's your responsibility. I can just give you my experience reading the book. So, okay, that wraps up this vlog. Hopefully it was informative and enjoyable, and you got little glimpses of outside and, the ever-present dogs, and just, little glimpse of Tammy. So leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Hub.